Proudly We Served is made possible with the support of Premier Toyota of Richmond at 5601 National Road East, Richmond's authorized Toyota new car dealership. Online at premiertoyotarichmond.com. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.
I'm Al Bledsoe, Veterans of Foreign War, Post 1108.
And I'm Ron Chappell, Chaplain of Vietnam Veterans Post 777 here in Richmond.
And thank you again for another session of Proudly We Served. And with us today we have Jim Jordan, Barry Bussen, and Tim Griffy. All of these gentlemen are veterans of a foreign war someplace. Barry and Jim served in Vietnam. Tim served in Korea. Leslie served in Korea. So let's get started. And Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Jim Jordan. Born and raised in Richmond. Spent a little over 13 years in the Army. 2 tours in Vietnam. And spent a couple Christmases over there. Okay. Was wounded twice. And thank the good Lord, I'm still here to tell you about it.
All right.
Barry?
I was also in Vietnam in '68 and '69. I spent Christmas there. And I also have 2 Purple Hearts and raised here in Richmond. And that's about the extent of it.
Okay. Bless?
Yeah, I missed Vietnam by 1 year, but I did 11 and a half years in South Korea. In my 22 years in the Air Force, retired in Osan Air Base, Korea, but Richmond is my home.
You know what I'm noticing now? All you guys came a year or 2 after I got there, cleaned up everything, so you guys really didn't have a whole lot to do.
Can you explain that a little bit better? You're not coming across right there or something.
Well, what we wanted to do today, folks, is just kind of talk about what it was like to be away from home over in foreign territory, especially during the holidays. So I thought we'd assemble together, just kind of kick that around. You know, folks often send to organizations, make contributions, send pies and cookies and that kind of thing, and that's great. But I think it would be beneficial just to kind of get an idea of what we're feeling in that moment at that time. So guys, if you just want to kind of just talk about that. And
Go ahead, Les, you started that.
Let's start it.
Yeah, I did. I spent a few Christmases in Korea, and of course, some of it I was married, some of it I wasn't married. And the time when I was married, I couldn't have my wife over there because I was too low in rank. So it got real lonely. But the higher echelon of command, chain of command, the commanders, the first sergeants, they made a point to try to keep the morale up during that time. Would get us involved in different things. We all squadrons had different orphanages we sponsored, and sometimes I would play Santa Claus because I was a little bit big. I had a weight problem, and so they would ask me to play Santa Claus for the kids at the orphanages, and that was good. But I had several bad experiences with that as well, because we'd take them all these presents and stuff for the kids, mittens and scarves and school books and stuff like that. And I got the chance to stay overnight with them while the rest of the squadron went home one time. And the overseers of these children at their thing, they took all of our presents and took them downtown and sold them on the black market for food. because that's what they really needed. They already had coats and shoes and school books and stuff, but they didn't have food. They needed cabbage to make kimchi. They needed rice.
Kimchi.
Yeah, the main staple. You probably all had that before. But that was one of the more bad experience. But in the same, it was good experience. It was understandable. I understood. You know, it still hurt because we had done all this work to get all these things for these children, and then they took it down and sold it. But they sold it to, like I said, to feed themselves,
Sure.
To survive, because they weren't supported by the Korean government, because these children were children of GIs. So they were frowned upon. They were looked down upon. They didn't have no support. The only support they got were from the GIs that sponsored the orphanages.
Kind of like the Samaritans.
Right.
Barry, do you remember where you were at Christmas?
Yeah, I was at a fire base named Jackson, and speaking, I don't know what day it was in December, but they come out in Chinook, and the sergeant had been around earlier and had each one of us take a straw, and a short straw stayed and a big straw went. We didn't know where we were going at the time, and thought we was going out on another mission. So we loaded in this Chinook, and they took me into Coochie, and it was Bob Hope. Bob Hope and Ann Margaret and Rosie Greer that year, and which surprised us, you know. So we went in, we had a good afternoon, an hour or two, then they right back where we were, and it was a good day for us. Of course, you get lonely and homesick and stuff around that time, but you just get through it, and you kind of keep your mind on business too. You don't want to get too wrapped up in it, because you got to be alert, and you know. It's pretty good Christmas all in all. Sure. Being surprised like that.
Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir. I was in Vietnam in 1967, 68. Here again, we didn't have the luxury of straws. We had to pick a number between 1 and 10, and there was 5 individuals from each platoon. And here again, we mounted Hueys. We flew into Benoit. We was out on a fire support base on Thunder Road, which was Highway 13 leading from south to north. And that was our mission for those days, to secure that so they could run convoys. It was on Christmas Eve, and flew us into Benoit. Bob Hope show. Raquel Welch, she had on a white and blue micro mini skirt. I'll never forget that. I think that's when mini skirts started coming out, and white go-go boots. Ann Margaret was there. Rosie Greer was there. And it was just a fantastic show. Here again, you know, 18 years of age, you're away from home, you're in a combat zone, you don't know what is going to happen in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and the big thing I remember from that was when they sang Silent Night. I don't think there was a dry eye in that area. And you know, back on the choppers and back out to the fire base. And you know, it's just not knowing what's going to happen. When an individual was killed, you didn't have time to sit down and mourn the loss of your comrade. You just sucked it up and you went on. And that was the loneliest time that I could remember. Knowing that your family's back home, are they thinking about me, is kind of a feel sorry day for yourself, I guess. And knowing that they were enjoying that Christmas day, and here I am eating a can of sea rations, and usually ham and eggs chopped, which wasn't bad.
No, I like the turkey loaf.
Well,
With Tabasco sauce.
Tabasco sauce.
If you
Kill
had
the
the
taste.
luxury.
And Then again in 70, 71, I was with 1st Cav Division, and we was out in nowhere land. The whole company got to fly in on that one, and here again it was the Bob Hope show, and it was just really nice to see these people give up their time, their families, to come over and support us. Right. I just wished we'd have got a little bit more support from the American people. and today these young people, I believe the whole country is behind them, and we need to be. Yeah. We've put them in harm's way, and we need to be there to support them.
Right.
You know, to pick up on what Jim was saying, it is amazing. We didn't talk about this before we got here, but Silent Night is my favorite Christmas song. Yeah. And that was a tearjerker.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember the first Christmas I spent in Nam. The thing I remember the most is a lot of stuff being sent, care packages and stuff like that from home. And my mother, because I had this stupid disease of my feet, she would always send me this special foot stuff. And I can remember that to this day of sitting down. I was 19 years old, first Christmas in Nam. And I'd never been away from home. I mean, 10 miles, about as far as I've been, and then to wake up and realize you're really in a war zone, that, you know, that anybody, these guys in the Army that were wounded, Barry and Jim, I don't know what to think of that, because the government wasn't behind it the way it should have been. I don't know. I got mixed emotions
that
about
whole
that.
thing, you know, it evolved from what was called an advisory capacity to a conflict to a war, and it got political and all that. But the point is, we were just being obedient to our leaders, and dedicated to the services to which we were assigned.
Right.
Well, when you enlisted, you took the oath.
You took the oath,
Right.
you know, which, by the way, you know, has no termination.
It does?
It has no expiration date.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that.
No expiration date.
Well, you know, that was probably most of us the furthest we've ever been away from home.
Right.
And, you know, especially around the holidays. And it's just looking at some of these young guys that got married before they went to Vietnam.
Oh my, yeah.
Some of the older leaders that were married, had families and kids. And, you know, it was just one of those where you became brothers. You became your family.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you and I could tussle, but if that guy comes over and tussles, we're going to tussle on him.
That's right. That's right.
For sure.
And yeah, it was really heart-wrenching at times.
You know, you mentioned that, but that environment broke down a lot of walls and barriers.
Sure did.
You know, the whole issues of ethnicity and race and those kinds of things, it just went away. We were all family. We all depended on one another. Yeah.
Well, nowadays, if you're not out protesting something, and I guess maybe we ought to talk about that a little bit when we see some of these flag burnings and things like that. And you know, we're not going to get politicized with that, but at the same time, when you take an oath to serve, some of these young kids, I just wonder what they're doing. They're burning flags. Totally, to me, that's totally disrespectful. They have the right to do that, but
we gave them that
right. But we gave them that right. So
exactly.
does our right override their right? And that could be a discussion for another day. But it just wears me out when I see people burning the flag and stuff. So
Yeah, I was married at the time when I was drafted, and I took the oath. And the reason I was drafted is because my wife had a miscarriage at the time, and it was a couple months later they had you in the service, you know, if you wasn't in prior to that. And like I say, and Jim says, you know, it got lonely and stuff, especially when you're just married, you know, and plus being homesick and stuff. But I have a Christmas present that I was given 48 years ago, and I still have it.
See if we can get a shot
Just a
of
little
that.
Man,
chess
does
board
that
that
bring back memories.
a member of the family sent me, and I
The
have that
home setting.
Yeah.
to this day. And you know, that gave me a lot of pleasure on down the road in Vietnam. And it means a lot when you get something from home, especially when you're in hard times,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
So
We used to sit around and play cards to just, if we wasn't doing something else, I mean, to just keep your mind off things. I mean, just
Yeah.
because you'd go nuts if you thought about what you was doing.
In Korea, we had a guy come from the States. I never knew his name. He was just referred to as Hot Dog Harry. And he was out of Columbus, Ohio. And he would come to Osan, and he would go to some of the other camps and bases in Korea. And he would bring Oscar Mayer hot dogs and RC colas. But he would also have these letters from children from grade schools, hundreds and hundreds of letters. And he'd come in and take over the gym for a day and set up in the gym, and we'd have these tables, and all on the tables would be these letters from these children in Columbus, from grade schools in Columbus. Besides the hot dogs and the RC colas, which were really good, these letters were, some of them were tear jerkers. I mean, you know, from a little 6-year-old kid thanking me for my service, you know, and telling me that he has a pony and he rides in his, you know, in his backyard in Columbus, and he wishes me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, you know, and it can be a tearjerker.
Yeah,
You know?
There was something on the news the other day, DHL, I think that's who it is, delivers the Christmas trees overseas. I don't remember seeing a Christmas tree when I was in Nam.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember?
Where you gonna put it? Just hold that picture up there.
If
Where
we're
you gonna put it?
So,
See, folks can't really see that. See, but he's in the hole in the ground. That's where we slept in.
yeah.
I think mine was about the size of a grave, really, that you can see out here at the
Yeah.
cemetery.
Yeah.
And me and one guy, 2 people per hole. Was that the way yours was?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't have much room for a Christmas tree or anything
Yeah, and
else.
I don't remember seeing one.
2 or 3 people had a bunker.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We had 2.
Two.
Yeah, but it was about the size of a grave.
Great.
And that's what
Well, somebody, I think it was in '69, no, '68, their parents sent them a care package, and there was a little miniature tree in it.
Wow.
And you know, that's the only Christmas tree
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I saw. And of course, letters from home.
yeah.
And we did get a hot meal.
Yeah.
Forgot this. The choppers brought it in. They set it up in Mermac cans, the old metal cans.
Yeah.
And you was going through the chow line about that time a chopper takes off and all this dust.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh man,
Yeah.
but it was good.
Yeah.
And we got milk. They put it in duffel bags with ice. Well, it laid out on the tarmac before we got it.
Oh, wow.
And everybody went after the milk and opened that up, and it was all sour clabber. And I didn't drink milk for many, many years.
Did they have alcohol when you were like out in the field? Like, did they bring in alcohol?
At first, they would send out 2 cans of beer a day.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes.
I didn't get that.
And they kind of quit that after I was there about 6 months because we got overran because the guys were a little wasted on one side of a perimeter when we was in combat. And not everybody drinks beer, and what was happening, these guys was getting 4, 5, 6 cans of beer.
Right.
Well, we'd get 2 beers. This was weekly in the 1st Infantry Division, and a Coke. So if you didn't drink your beer, I'm going to give you my Coke for those 2 cans of beer.
Right.
We used to, and I can remember the Marines, there was just a fence or something that kind of, the Marines were here and we were here, and I can remember the Marines always got all the good food, and so we would, the younger ones, we would try to get their alcohol from them.
Yeah.
So, and we were allowed, it was rationed out like that,
Yeah.
and we would try to trade it, give them cheap wine or something like that to get their food and stuff.
I tell you, Al, the Air Force has got the good food.
That's right. They always have
we
all,
bring,
they had all
bring
the
it
good
in,
stuff,
you
didn't
know.
they?
We would always bring it in. But I don't know, in Korea, the Koreans got everything first, you know, because it was their country, you know.
Yeah.
But the load masters were good about getting it to out into the fields and stuff.
Did any of you guys happen to have the opportunity to hear Hanoi Hannah on the broadcast?
On the radio?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We were up in Ankh, and so we were close. And at Christmas time, they would play American Christmas music, and then she would use her psychology. You know, you sitting here, and Jody's at home with your wife, and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Made it kind of tight.
Yeah. Yeah, those were some lonesome times for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially guys that were married and fiancés. And
Right.
thank goodness all I had was my family, my mom and dad,
Yeah.
my brothers, and
Yeah.
And then when we got a care package, it just wasn't mine. It was all.
all
Yeah.
our brothers.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it was.
And they was always crunched,
Oh, well, yeah.
mashed.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this cookie, all of them.
Yeah.
See, you got to remember back then, it took a week and a half, letters.
Yeah.
Oh,
7 to
At
10
home.
days, I think,
Yeah,
was the time.
exactly.
like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Compared to today.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we always look forward to mail call because,
Oh, yeah.
boy, and if you didn't get any mail, then it was another setback
That
that
was-
day.
Yeah.
Your attitude was bad that day or something. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But those days are gone, but they're still up here.
yeah, we'll never forget that stuff.
Never,
we
never.
And I think it helps us to be more empathetic to those who are currently serving. You know, I got an email the other day from the USO, and they're doing, Christmas packages and stuff like that. Some little money,
Yeah.
to help.
Phone cards.
You know, it's hard
Yeah.
for me to wrap my head around being in a war zone and come home for 6 months and have to go,
Go
back.
back.
Yeah.
That would really be rough.
Yeah.
I mean, because once you get out of there,
Yeah.
oh boy, but
Yeah.
have to go back. I don't see how these guys do it.
Yeah.
You know.
You got to hand
hard.
it to them.
Yes, you do.
A lot of those guys are serving through in 4 tours, so
Right.
there must be something to that they want to do that, because that's pretty. Iraq and places like that are not the safest places anymore.
Well, I
they're
didn't want to
just-
go back. I was medevaced out of Nam. I got bit by a spider
Oh, really?
and contracted meningoencephalitis, and my temperature was 105.6, and they expected me to die. In fact, I actually had an out-of-body experience in Quinyan at the field hospital there. They sent me there, and then when I came back out of it, they sent me to Japan, from Japan to the Philippines, from the Philippines to Great Lakes Naval Hospital, and then they sent for my family and all that, right?
Wow.
And then when I got well, they sent me back. They sent me to Laos when I got well.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's not good.
But no, those were some good days and good times
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and bad times.
yeah.
And I wouldn't change it.
No.
I would not change it. I would do it all over again.
I think that the big thing I concern myself with is making sure that era, the Vietnam era, and the Korean people, that era is taken care of. Because the way things are with the government, you never know what they're going to do. And that really concerns me, that we're going to be taken care of the right way.
Yeah.
And some guys that really need help. I'm really a proactive type person when it comes to that, and I don't think we can talk about that enough.
Yeah.
The place where I work, I'm trying to get them, and they've really been gracious about getting behind the military and the service people and things like that, and starting to push just a little bit, and let it be known, that even to younger ones that are coming home, that we need to honor and respect the military people.
Yeah.
They deserve the right to have the respect, if nothing else.
That's
We get a lot of
absolutely
good
true.
feedback from this program.
Oh, I know we do.
A lot of
I know we do.
feedback.
And the public, I think, is responding more. I've noticed in the last 4 or 5 years, I get thanked a lot when I places like Myers, or you go to the mall, or and
Sure.
whereas I didn't before,
Yeah. Yeah.
But now, it seems like in the past 4 or 5 years, a lot of people are more appreciative of our service.
Yeah.
But the guys coming back from Nam, man, that was another traumatic thing coming
Yeah.
back, being called baby killers.
Killers, we spit on.
Yeah,
stuff
oh
like
yeah.
that.
I don't see how the guys,
Yeah.
some of them, and some of them didn't, because they were traumatized,
Yeah.
you know, coming back.
I don't understand that, and I'll never understand that of why people were so animate about Vietnam guys. When I came home, I mean, I went to the VFW and they threw me out.
Yeah.
They said I didn't belong in a place like that.
Yeah.
And yet today, and fast forward that to today, we kind of wrap our arms around. You guys know as well as anybody, if it wasn't for the Vietnam guys, the clubs would
Yes.
dissipate
Yeah,
substantially.
that's
So,
right, that's right.
because it's just when our generation is going to move forward, and is the younger generation going to pick it up? That's the bigger question. And as far as our service and things like that, as we age, if you will, we get tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never even used to think I'd ever get tired, but nowadays I feel
hey.
like I get tired. It's
part of the process of
It's part of
aging,
the
though.
process. So these guys, we're going to try to start shutting down just a little bit today. Our 30 minutes is up already.
I just want to encourage you guys.
Yeah.
Wear your hats. Wear your hats. I was at a restaurant and I had one of my hats on, and this guy came over and he said, "Thank you for your service," and he took my bill and he paid
Oh,
for
really?
my food.
Wow.
That's
Wear
nice.
your hats, bro.
I
Yeah.
haven't had that. I've been thankful quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good thing,
Oh, yeah.
especially when you're out a lot. I mean, I don't wear it obviously when I'm at work, but I do wear it when I'm off work or something like that. I do wear it all the time. I think it's a good thing to do that because people do appreciate, especially our generation,
Yeah.
because we didn't get that when it first came home, when we first came home. So I think that's a good thing. Do you want to close
Hey,
this down?
yeah,
and
we
we're out of here?
we need to just say, we thank you so much. This has been a good year for us here at the program. We want to thank these guys for coming and sharing their experience, and hopefully it'll help you in terms of how you perceive what's happening with our military personnel around the world, wherever they may be. Do whatever you can to help them to feel the true spirit of Christmas. All right? Well, we're out of here. God bless you
Thanks.
and have
God
a Merry
bless you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Proudly We Served is made possible with the support of Premier Toyota of Richmond at 5601 National Road East, Richmond's authorized Toyota new car dealership. Online at premiertoyotarichmond.com. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.